All right, let's make sure this thing is streaming before we get started. Let me see what we got. All right, we're up and running. So today is Friday the 13th, right? It's Valentine's Day tomorrow. So you might be watching Love and Basketball, or you might be watching The Notebook. But if you're not, and you're here with me, I want to say that I appreciate you, because you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and that's good for my ego. Shout out to Yeezy. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about, first of all, we got to talk about the Ring commercial that aired during the Super Bowl, because it seems as if Ring is getting a lot of backlash, right? As they deserve. They deserve to have a lot of backlash. I don't know what they were thinking. I'm going to show you the commercial, right? But first I want to show you this. I want to show you this CIA whistleblower who told us previously about how the government can basically spy on you. We already knew they could spy on you through your phone and your laptop. They could also spy on you through your computer, right? All sorts of things that they can do. But here's this CIA whistleblower that's blowing the cover on what the government can do. And I think, to me at least, this ties into what Ring is trying to do, or what they thought was a good idea, which obviously is not. Mass surveillance, people don't want that. Check this out.
CIA listened through our phones and laptop cameras. Yes, I hate to say it. There was a dramatic leak in 2017 that the CIA came to call the Vault 7 disclosures. Gigabytes worth of documents leaked by a CIA technology engineer. What he told us was that the CIA can intercept anything from anyone, number one. Number two, they can remotely take control of your car through the car's embedded computer. To do what? To make you drive off a bridge, into a tree, to make you kill yourself and make it look like an accident. They can take over your smart television and turn the speaker into a microphone so that they can listen to what's being said in the room even when the TV is turned off. God knows what else that they can do that hasn't been leaked.
All right. So like I said, that was a former CIA agent. He ended up being a whistleblower, but he's been doing his rounds all over social media. He's actually going pretty viral on Instagram right now and Twitter. He's a world-known guy. So if you want to check him out, I believe his name is John K. So you can find him. Just type in CIA whistleblower. If you're looking for him, you can see his interview. He did one with the Diary of a CEO guy, the guy that runs that channel. And what did he say? Yeah, the government can get any information that they want from you, from your smartphone, from your car, from your TV. And what Ring did was essentially say, hey, we can also add on to all of these different devices that can spy on you, including your Ring camera. Is it new that like these, whether it be like Alexa, I think Google just had a lawsuit where they were saying like Alexa could listen to your phone, so they ended up having to pay some money. So is it new that we understood that these things could happen? Absolutely not. We already knew this was going on, and we knew that it was probably to a massive scale. But check out the ad that Ring ran during the Super Bowl, and they thought that this was a good idea. They thought that people were going to be excited about what it is that they were rolling out, that they could just do mass surveillance and use AI tracking on people, and people were just going to sign up for this in droves. No. They learned a lesson, that's for sure.
This is Milo. Pets are family. But every year, 10 million go missing. And the way we look for them hasn't changed in years. Until now. One post of a dog's photo in the Ring app starts outdoor cameras looking for a match. Search Party from Ring uses AI to help families find lost dogs. Since launch, more than a dog a day has been reunited with their family. Be a hero in your neighborhood with Search Party. Available to everyone for free right now. Join the neighborhood at ring.com. This is Milo. Pets are family.
Yeah, so Ring basically said, hey, if you lose your dog or if you're looking for something, we will use AI technology and link up with all the other Rings and find your dog throughout the neighborhood. That's what the ad was about, right? People were like, I don't think that I want Ring using facial recognition on me or my dog. And the first thing that I thought about, the very first thing that came to my mind was two things. It was Tyler Robinson, right? We know that he was seen on a Ring camera multiple times when he assassinated Charlie Kirk. People saw him walking to and fro through some neighborhoods and all of that, right? So my first thought is, oh, they're telling you it's for your dog, but obviously they're going to expand it and they're going to use it for other things, right? I'm not saying necessarily that I don't want criminals to be trapped. No, absolutely not. What I am saying is we have to think about the implications in the third and fourth wave effects of the stuff that we greenlight these companies to do, right? Now, like I said, they received a lot of backlash, so they kind of terminated their deal with the company that they were initially working with on this venture. But how many times are we going to get this stuff implemented in the background in the terms of service that you just click and say, oh, yeah, I want that? They tried to run it as a Super Bowl ad this time. What about the time when they just changed the terms of service, like TikTok just did, right? And if you don't read into the fine details, you're going to sign up for something and turn a feature on that you don't necessarily want, and it's going to be tracking you just like everything else is, right? We're being tracked 24/7. And I thought about this thing from Larry Ellison. He's the billionaire that I believe his son bought TikTok, or he bought TikTok, but he also runs Oracle. He has like 40, he has somewhere in the 40% of Oracle. Very, very rich guy. It says billionaire Larry Ellison says a vast AI fueled surveillance system can ensure citizens will be on their best behavior. So if you go a little further down, it says, I know I didn't pay for a Business Insider, so they're trying to lock me out. It says, we're going to have supervision. Every police officer is going to be supervised at all times. And if there's a problem, AI will report that problem and report it to the appropriate person. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we are constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on. This is what, this is what companies think. This is what the billionaires and the people with money think is the best implementation of the technology that they're rolling out, right? They want to do, I believe the movie was called Minority Report, where basically you are surveyed or surveilled 24/7. And if you get out of line, they're already going to know what your crime is and where you are and what you're doing, all this type of stuff, right? So Ring, they understandably received a lot of backlash. And here it's reported, it says, this has got to be one of the biggest cell phones in advertising history. You literally spend millions of dollars for a 30-second Super Bowl spot to tell everyone you're spying on them, immediately destroying your brand reputation and upending your business model. So it says Amazon's Ring cancels Flock partnership amid Super Bowl backlash. Amazon Ring turned to this partnership with police tech company Flock Safety. The partnership came under scrutiny after the Amazon doorbell ran an ad during the Super Bowl that touted a, quote, search party feature that uses AI to help locate lost pets. Ring's decision to cancel its partnership with Flock comes as tech companies face growing pressure to re-examine their work with federal agencies. It's not even just, federal agencies. Why would you want to turn over all of that time? Already your Ring is, you could buy like, a history of recording. Like I had Ring camera for a while. You could pay like $3 or $4 or something, and you can catalog whichever Ring camera that you want, right? But then you're also going to tell them, hey, let me sync up with other people's Ring cameras in order to find somebody's dog. No, I think fucking not. I don't think that that's a good idea. And like I said, I feel like it's going to be used, or it would have been used eventually to, is it going to track protesters? Is it going to track somebody that the federal authorities are looking for, whether or not that person should be surveilled? This is a slippery slope. They tell you, oh, this is for safety. This is for your benefit. Then all of a sudden, you just signed over all your rights and all your and your life. That's the way it goes every single time. So I'm glad that people paid attention. I'm glad that they looked further into this and they didn't just think about the first wave effect. Oh, I lost my dog. I'm going to hand over all of this data and sync my Ring with all the people in my neighborhood. No. So I'm happy to see that they got caught. That really put a smile on my face. And I said, damn, maybe we can be a proper country again. But we got to see. We got to see if they end up trying to roll it out in like some backdoor deal. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I could absolutely see these companies trying to do something nefarious and roll the technology out because they think that it's going to be a net benefit, and they want to get these partnerships with these other federal agencies, or they want to get contracts. That's the way it happens. That's the way the game is played. All right, let me see what we got. I want to check out this thing, Candace Owens. We know that Candace Owens, she's been on a tirade about TPUSA, right? She's not a fan ever since Charlie Kirk passed away. She has been extremely vocal about her disappointment and her disdain for TPUSA, for Erica Kirk, for the entire organization that they're running over there, right? So that's no secret to anybody. As far as the halftime show, what she's claiming is, she says Turning Point USA's halftime show was pre-recorded, right? That show with Kid Rock that they tried to pretend like everybody wanted to see, some geriatric, washed up dude that used to perform back in the 90s and early 2000s. They wanted to pretend as if that guy was going to, for one, put on as good a production as the NFL could do, and that people were so interested in Kid Rock that it was going to overshadow Bad Bunny, right? TPUSA, if you guys don't know, is a Christian organization. They try to convert people over to conservatism, right? That's what Charlie Kirk is well known for his organization and the impact that he's had over there. Since he's passed, his wife, the very, very strange Erica Kirk, has taken over. And she's, in my opinion, she's kind of running it into the ground, right? I don't know that it wasn't a bunch of theatrics when Charlie was alive, but the company has turned into a place for theatrics. They hold these crazy events. When he passed, they did a memorial that looked like, it damn near looked like Kid Rock's concert, right? Like if you put the two side by side, you could barely tell the difference, except that one dude is a super old, whatever kind of music he does, a rock star or whatever. And then one is Erica Kirk rolling out like she's taking a loud, she's rolling out like she's taking the Rolling Loud stage. Absolutely horrible. So anyway, let's check out this Candace Owens thing. Like I said, she is claiming that it was pre-recorded, that people were paid to be there. And I'm inclined to believe her because I don't think there's any other way that you could get, tens, let alone hundreds of people to show up to a Kid Rock concert. But maybe that's just not my culture. Here's Candace.
Well, here's the reality of how this happens. The person said, first and foremost, this was filmed, which we have already told you, and they've said 2 weeks ago, or weeks leading up to it, in Fayetteville, Georgia. There were actually only 180 people in the audience, and they used camera tricks to make it look like it was really filled. They were just moved around the room to make it look more full.
Where is 50 Cent when you need him? We needed 50 Cent to absolutely step in and buy the first 200 seats like he did to Ja Rule. He was hating on Ja Rule. He bought the first 200 row, or the first 2 rows, 100 seats in his concert, so it looked like nobody showed up. That's what we need right now, to show the actual amount of people that would have been interested in seeing Kid Rock perform. This many. Zero. Nada.
And they had to do about 3 to 5 takes each on every song, except for Gabby. They said she got it done in 2. They had no idea what they were signing up for. The majority of the people didn't even agree once they got there and were told with doing a split halftime show. A lot of them actually liked Bad Bunny. Is it Bad Bunny? Sorry. Yeah, Bad Bunny. I thought I said something else. It was over 2 days of filming, Monday and a Tuesday, and they were kind of shocked that Erica was not present at all for that filming. They did not meet her. They felt like it was very weird. And they also thought that it was going to be a bigger artist because they were told that they were going to contend with the halftime show. And they didn't think that they were going to do that. Like I said, they're kind of, a lot of them were fans of Bad Bunny. And
I thought that it was already announced that they were using Kid Rock. So I'm not sure why they thought somebody else was going to be performing, right? I don't know who is like a popular artist on the right. Post Malone, the dude, Jelly Roll that showed up to the Grammys and then pretended like he didn't know anything political. Meanwhile, he was hanging out with Trump, hanging out with Vance. I don't know who they would have called, right? Who knows? But Bad Bunny, he's a super popular artist, right? And it is the Super Bowl. TPUSA is a big organization. I believe they said they make $100 million a year. But we're talking about the actual NFL. that makes billions and billions of dollars in revenue, right? So you really can't compete with that level of production and that level of attention. So TPUSA, they really shot themselves in the foot.
And they were certain it was not going to rival that performance. Like I said, songs being played, performances 3 to 5 times so that they could further direct audiences, which they did, to fist pump and get excited. They told me they were very tired because these were 12-hour days. They were compensated $250 stipend for that. They ran out of food. On the first day, the food that was provided for them was Mediterranean food, which is just objectively hilarious for an all-American halftime show. And the second day, they gave them tacos. So I think Mexico won. There was a holding room in between the takes, and they felt that there was no communication of why they were waiting for hours sometimes. There were technical problems. They also had the performers themselves were late, and they were not told why. They were just kind of in this holding space. And, except for Gabby Barrett, they said that she was early, and she only needed to do her song twice.
I actually don't care that much that it was filmed early. What I do care about is the fact that they were trying to compete with the Super Bowl, trying to make it some big like, oh, this is the left, this is the delusional left versus the, sane people on the right that want to see an all-American show. And I didn't even know they had other people in the lineup. That's how out of touch I am personally with the show. And this stuff didn't go viral on social media to me, right? I don't watch the Super Bowl in the first place. So I tuned in only to see Bad Bunny's performance. There was no possible way that I was also going to be trying to find something with Kid Rock. It didn't go viral. It wasn't on my timeline. And the stuff that I did see, it looked like theatrics. It looked like just what Candace Owens is saying. It looked like people that kind of, they showed up and they were doing a job, right? I think I saw something with JD Vance in the stands trying to bob his head to it. Like nobody wanted to see Kid Rock, and it makes all the sense in the world, right? They tried to blow this into some huge proportion, out of proportion, left versus right battle that was unnecessary, right? They're like, oh, Matt Walsh, like, oh, we need an all-white show. Why? Isn't that DEI? Don't you rail against DEI all the time? Now you're saying, oh, well, white people aren't included in the show. If the shoe fits, then wear it. All right, so you guys can tell me what you think. I thought that Bad Bunny show was okay, right? Like I didn't understand a single thing in the parts that I saw, but I also didn't understand a single thing that Kid Rock was saying. So, maybe they were equal in production value. Who knows? Anyway, let's move on. We need to talk about the one and only Jeffrey child predator Epstein. Okay, let me go to this first. I talked about the fact that I keep calling the Epstein class, as Rokonda and Thomas Massey call it. I call it the Epstein cinematic universe. Why do I say that? Because everybody in this thing is connected to Epstein and connected to, obviously, it's the Epstein files, but they all seem to be also connected to Trump and his administration. They all kind of run in the same crowds. It's like, remember in Endgame when everybody came back, you were like, oh shit, Black Panther's back, Spider-Man is back. What's the Falcon's name? I think his name is just Falcon. The dude played by Anthony Mackie, you're like, oh shit, they're back. That's how I feel with Okoye. That was one of Black Panther's warriors. Every time somebody new is introduced into this Epstein sphere, that's how I feel. It's like, damn, this person too? Like all of y'all were meeting with this guy and you didn't feel any type of way about the stuff that he was doing and accused of doing and convicted. And he was sent to jail for. None of you guys felt any type of way about this? And that's why I keep calling it the Epstein cinematic universe. So it says, the Jewish American investor Leon Black, who paid $158 million to Jeffrey Epstein, was discussed in the Epstein emails as dangerous because he bit children's no square. That is crazy, right? It says, what's insane is that his son currently works in the Trump administration as if nothing ever happened. As if nothing ever happened. We've repeatedly seen that the people that are tied to Epstein are also tied to Trump, right? Like I said, both of these guys, both of Epstein and Trump, they're from New York. They're socialites. They're rich people. They're billionaires. Those people tend to have a small class of people that they can relate to, right? Other billionaires, other people that are titans of their industry. So I'm not besmirching the fact that people know other people. Well, all of you guys seem to be greenlighting the stuff that Epstein was doing, and it makes no sense to me. How could you look at somebody, know the thing that they're convicted of, know what they're capable of, and Howard Lutnick is taking his family over to meet Epstein on his island? It makes no sense to me. It's disgusting. You have the survivors, right? Pam Bondi, Pam Bondi was recently in I don't even know what you call it. It's not a deposition, I don't think. She was recently interviewed by the House Judiciary Committee or House Appropriations Committee, somebody, and she wouldn't even look at these women. These women in this video, these are these survivors. She wouldn't pay them any mind. She wouldn't even turn around. Let me see if I can find that thing. But she wouldn't even turn around to look them in the eye, when they were at her what is it called? When she was testifying. Let me see. Let me see if I can find this picture real quick. I know I've been talking a lot about Epstein too, and I don't necessarily mean to keep bringing him up, but it's just like, they've released 3 million documents, and it's just like time after time after time, you see all of these people that he's entangled with. Okay, here we go. Let me bring this up. This is when one of the people that was asking questions to Pam Bondi, they said, hey, how many of the Epstein victims are here? And then she said, if you don't mind, can you stand up? Then she said, hey, if you have reached out to the Justice Department through a lawyer, through a group, through yourself, can you raise your hand if they have not responded to you? Look at these women. It was like, 8 women and families and stuff. And Pam Bondi paid them no mind. She didn't care. The only people that seemed to really have wanted to push this thing from the very beginning were the amazing Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie. I like both of the guys. I'm not going to lie to you, right? But here they are. I believe this was post the DOJ interview. So let's check out what they have to say.
I think we all realize now, oh, you guys really wanted to silence us. And you thought that you could scare us by putting our names out there.
And it had a list of victims.
It was shown, I think, a couple of times.
One was redacted. That makes no sense. This is a list of victims. That's intentional.
Okay, so let me give you the context, because if you haven't been following this thing too closely, it might not make sense to you, but it will in a second. So while she was being interviewed or while she was being interrogated or whatever it's called, there was a list that Thomas Massie brought up. He said, hey, this is an email that a lawyer sent you and said, do not release any of these names. Make sure that these names are redacted because they're all victims. It was a nice lengthy list, maybe about, let me see if it's in here. It was maybe about, if I had to guess, about 20 names, right? They released all those names and redacted one. The one person that they redacted ended up being a co-conspirator that Massie identified, right? So that's what the women are talking about. They're saying, hey, you're trying to scare us into silence. You're trying to scare us by saying, hey, we know who you are. Now the entire world has the opportunity to know who you are, and the release of the 3 million documents. And these women, I'm being completely honest with you, they're extremely brave, because you got people that won't even stand up to their coworker, right? Or their manager or their boss. These women are looking in the face of their abusers that are billionaires, that are politicians, that are, rich, powerful people, men and women. And they're saying, hey, no matter what it is that you have or who you are in the world in terms of your status and your stature, you still are not above the law. You still need to be held accountable. And I think it's disgusting what Pam Bondi did in her, in that entire 5-hour deposition that she did. And I especially think it's disgusting that she would try to backtrack and say, oh, well, if we did release their names, it was an accident. How about if you're going to hold the position, you have a little bit more professionalism, you do a little bit more scrutiny about what it is that you're releasing, right? That's why they said that they released all of those 3 million documents a month and a half later, was because they needed to go through them with a fine-tooth comb. As it turns out, their comb was not that fine-tooth at all. Let me see what we got here. I don't like that. This is Sean Ryan. This is Sean Ryan interviewing Ro Khanna. I know I talked about Ro Khanna in another video. Like I said, I like him. And I think that if 2028 comes, I would love to see Ro Khanna be the Speaker of the House. When 2026 comes, if Democrats have the House, I would love to see Ro Khanna be the Speaker, because he's one of the few people that is getting out there and saying what needs to be said. It's not just, oh, I'm a Democrat, so I'm going to, I'm going with the wind. I'm going to go with whatever Hakeem Jeffries says. Like, he has his own ideas, his own platform, and he's willing to get out there and, be the odd man out in order to say what it is that he wants to say, including saying, oh, over in California, there's so many millionaires and billionaires, especially in his district. Maybe we should do a one-time wealth tax, which, if you didn't know, Gavin Newsom said he doesn't want to fucking do that. So no Gavin Newsom for 2028, just like Hassan Piker said. But here is Ro Khanna being interviewed by Sean Ryan. Check this out.
Is it already in there? I mean,
Yes. I think there are people who are more powerful or have more information or are more connected into some of these networks that haven't been released. There's no other explanation. I mean, I'm willing to listen to Blanche because he's saying we can see the unredacted files, but there's no other explanation for having an email to Jeffrey Epstein with the abuser's name blacked out, and the email just says, I enjoyed the naughty girl you sent, or I enjoyed the Brazilian girl. Like,
yeah, I don't know how the people in the Trump administration, the Biden administration, how there could be such depravity within these files, and they feel the need to protect these people. I understand that Trump said, oh, well, if you release this stuff, my friends are going to get hurt. But maybe your friends are fucking pedophiles and they need to be hurt a little bit. You know what I'm saying? That's just me, though. Maybe, maybe I'm the person that's wrong. I'm open to that.
why are you blacking that out? Or, you have my permission to kill blacked out. Why? Who are you think that
Who are they going to kill?
Yeah. You think it's Survivor?
Who did they kill?
You think it's...
Aren't they saying there's bodies buried at the New Mexico ranch?
There were emails about that. And so there's...
I'll bet there's no excavators over there right now looking for anything.
And how do you not investigate it?
You don't investigate it because you're not concerned. You have no care in the world about the people that are being victimized and abused. That's how you don't investigate it. I know that we, as sensible people, are looking at this like, where are the police? You got all of these federal agents deployed to Minneapolis, and I think that they're being called home, right? I think that they're retreating from those operations up there. But you have all of those people that have been assigned to D.C., to Minneapolis, California, but you don't have agents that are ready to stand by and tackle this issue. It really tells you where their priorities are, and it's not on catching pedophiles.
Blanche as well, they're just men partying.
I wonder who owns that ranch now. Do you know?
I do not know.
I wonder if we could find that out, bring them in. Maybe they can do their own.
Maybe you do the investigation here. On this podcast. But the point is, you don't have you can get people voluntarily, but you don't have you've done more than the DOJ has done, but you don't have the power to subpoena. Congress has the power to subpoena. We have such power to subpoena that Bill Clinton, a former president, caved and is now coming and testifying in Congress. You don't think that we could exercise that same power with all of these people who are in the files?
But why do you think the DOJ?
One of the things that really annoys me, that's been annoying me about what Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie keep saying, they keep saying, okay, well, if you don't release the files, we're going to do something. And then they don't do it. And then Pam Bondi, she gets up there, she is interrogated, testifies, and she's being a smartass the entire time, just like a real bitch to the people, right? like not answering any questions directly, shifting the topics, deflecting. It's like you're here to answer questions on behalf of the American people, right? And these people are interviewing you on behalf of the American people, and we're not getting any answers. And it's like, when are people going to be held accountable? Not even just the people that are in the files, the people that are allowing those files to remain hidden. If you don't know, we only got 3 million of the reported. The DOJ said they had 6 million files. They only released 3 million. And then they said, oh, we're done. We washed our hands with Epstein. You guys can go through those. Okay, but where are the other 3 million? That's a huge question, and somebody needs to be held accountable for releasing them in the future and not releasing them when they were due on December 19th, 2025. We're in halfway through the second month. Like I said, tomorrow's Valentine's Day. Hug somebody that you love.
Isn't doing anything. Because shouldn't they be the ones that are indicting people?
They should.
Who have they indicted?
They haven't indicted a single person.
Really?
So, post Epstein, they said, oh, he's a dead guy and let's move on. They have not released the names of the co-conspirators who they should have indicted. They have not released the names of the people they should have prosecuted. And let alone, they've done nothing to investigate these people. And I don't know why. Like they say, okay, it doesn't rise to a criminal level. Well, how do you know if you haven't investigated it? Have you called these people in and have you asked them questions about where they were? What did they do? What did they know?
No, and they're not going to. Maybe they will with more public pressure. We're starting to see that people are kind of being held accountable. You got CEOs stepping down. You got people getting arrested overseas. So maybe there will be some level of accountability. But the Trump administration's move has been and will continue to be, we're going to call everything a hoax that we don't want to address, right? That is the playbook they've been running, and they will continue to run it as long as they can. Let's see what else we got. Let me see what else we have here. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I had already had the picture of Pam Bondi. Look at that. That is crazy. The victims are looking at her, hoping that she will acknowledge them. She won't even pay them enough mind to turn around and respect the fact that, I saw that they said, oh, well, she came in and she apologized for what Epstein did to us. Very well and good. But what she wouldn't apologize for is not standing up for these ladies, not taking their interviews, not releasing the names, not redacting their names in the email that their lawyer sent to them, to the DOJ, and said, hey, make sure these people are redacted in the files. She wouldn't apologize to that, wouldn't even acknowledge the victims. It's honestly disgusting behavior. What is this? Let me bring this up. This is just on the timeline. It says Yale professor David Galerter has been barred from teaching computer science. Release of emails between him and Jeffrey Epstein by the DOJ. Yeah, like I said, some people are being held accountable. We're starting to see that slowly trickle out. And companies, they're not going to want the negative association of people that were basically in Epstein's emails glazing him or asking him to visit their island or, having any sort of level of relationship with him because he had already had the conviction. So it's not as if you didn't know or there wasn't a way to know about who he was. And some of these people, there's some people that are in the emails and literally saying, hey, I'm sorry that you have such a tarnished reputation. Like, what the fuck do you mean? It's not just tarnished. He tarnished it by his actions, right? We always talk about accountability or pulling yourself up by your bootstraps or whatever term you want to use. It has to be applied across the board or it doesn't mean a fucking thing. All right, let me see what else we're going to be doing for the evening. Let me see what else we got. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me see what else we got. Oh, real quick. This guy, let me show you this guy. This is somebody else that's being held accountable for their participation in their friendship with Epstein. It says Emirati CEO who sent the quote unquote torture video to Jeffrey Epstein has been arrested by the UAE authorities after resigning from his company. He's being investigated by the authorities. In America, they're giving chomos time to run away. That's the difference in the West. Yeah, 100%. All right, this is something that I want to pull up and talk about real quick. This is related to the ICE funding. We know that there's been a lot of talk about what ICE is doing, and if we're being completely honest, the major thing that's been in the news has been Minneapolis, right? And it seems as if they're drawing down their operations that they were doing in Minneapolis, but they have still not reached a resolution on funding DHS and ICE through the rest of the fiscal year, which is for the government is through September 30th. Every other thing has been funded through September 30th, but they can't reach a resolution on ICE or DHS because of the hangups about the stuff that has been happening in Minnesota, and the Democrats have been pushing for reforms. So here's John Fetterman doing the work of Donald Trump and Mike Johnson and basically shaming Democrats. And I think, if he loses his seat and he ever runs again, I think he's going to run as a Republican. I really think that this dude, he wears the jacket of a Democrat, right? But looks can be deceiving. I think he's a Republican. I think he's converted, right? That's my opinion of him. Every time I see him, he's kind of shaming Democrats. He seems to be the odd man out. And sometimes you are the odd man out and you can be completely right. But with John Fetterman, I continually see that, in my opinion, from where I view the world, my worldview, I could see him on the wrong side of the issue time and time and time again. And here he is, once again, pleading and doing the work of the Republicans. Let's check this out.
Hi, as a committed Democrat, I want the same changes that every other Democrat wants to make on ICE. But ICE already has $75 billion in funding from the big, beautiful bill that I did not vote for. So what it will impact is that we'll shut down important parts of DHS, whether that's FEMA, whether that's the Coast Guard, whether that is also about the CISA, the Cyber Security Agency in our nation. All of these are shut down. We want to find a way forward to produce those changes, but shutting the government down is the wrong way.
Two things really piss me off about John Fetterman. The first thing is that every time he comes on camera or he appears in the media, he looks like shit. This is a congressman, right? He's in the House, but he comes on camera looking like shit every time, whether it be with mainstream media, whether it be his own channel. Like, put on a fucking suit. Be a professional. So that's what pisses me off about him first. And, he is he is my bald brother. So maybe I could give him a little grace, but he needs to clean up his professionalism. The other thing is, like I said, he's always agreeing with the Republicans. And yes, while ICE has $75 billion of funding from the big, beautiful bill, it's about the leverage of getting them to change their actions. It's not just about, do you think that they don't want the additional money? Of course they want it. So while you have leverage, and I said the Democrats should have done this 2 weeks ago. While you have leverage, you tell the people that are looking for a deal, hey, this is what we're willing to negotiate on. If you want to do that, if you want to move forward, then you're going to have to give me some sort of concessions. And I said 2 weeks ago, the Democrats shouldn't have passed a temporary bill, any temporary funding, because you had the most leverage when the wound was fresh, right? I said then, and I said now, I'm not saying that the deaths of the two people or any of the people that got shot, you should use them as like political leverage. But those people got shot because of the things that ICE has been allowed to do, CBP has been allowed to do. So in their honor, you need to stick to your guns. We've already blown past that time, right? But here, like I said, here we have a Democrat that's doing the work of Republicans, just letting them have their way, right? Oh, they have $75 billion. What's the problem with giving them 30 billion more or whatever the amount would be? The problem is we want you to do something different than what it is that you've been doing, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. So let's do something different. Let's not keep acquiescing to the demands of the Republican Party and then saying, okay, well, if you treat me better, can you just treat me better next time? I know you've been kicking my back in, but if you would please, next time you have the opportunity, just don't kick my back in. No, how about we stop letting them stand behind you to kick your back in. That's the way to do it. So I hope that, I don't even know where we are in terms of the government shutting down, that they passed something tonight or they didn't pass it. But if they did not pass it, if they did not do this temporary funding, I hope that they don't. I hope that they say, hey, we're going to stick to our guns and we're going to do the thing that we need to do in order to protect the American people. A guy can hope. I don't know necessarily that that's going to be the way that things go, but, you know, I can wish. It says, fuck you, you fucking Trump patsy. We can't wait for your weak ass. We can't wait to get your weak ass out of office. What a fucking con job. Yeah, I wouldn't say it. And, you know, I like cursing. I really do. And I wouldn't have said it in such colorful language, but the sentiment is the sentiment. Like I said, he's a dino. He's a Democrat in name only, doing the work of the Republicans. This person says, first line, shutting down DHS has zero impact and zero changes for ICE. Last line, I can't vote to shut down critical parts of the government. Which is it? See, these two things can be true, though. You could shut down DHS and not necessarily affect the money, or at least the 75 billion that's allocated to ICE. But DHS does have a lot of things under the umbrella, which he said in the video. He named quite a few of them in the video. It said you can't be bothered to do anything useful, Shrek. The only way to fix that is resign. Yeah. Stop pretending your racism is patriotism. I don't even know what that is. I don't know what that's about. So I'm going to move on from that. You guys, let me know what you're thinking. What's on your mind down in the chat. I'm going to go over to some YouTube videos that I have lined up or saved. I haven't really gotten to go through them, so I don't know what we're necessarily expecting in them. But I saw them and I saved them. Let me see. Oh, actually, no. This is some stuff that I had about Epstein. I'm about tired of talking about Epstein for tonight. So hopefully I don't have to. I don't find anything interesting and have to pull that up, because I think I've exhausted all of the brain cells that I had to speak on Epstein, the Epstein class, the Epstein cinematic universe. Let me see what else I had. Let's talk about this briefly. Where is it? All right, so there's a free New York grocery store, and people are freaking out a little bit. Here we go. So Kalshi is one of those betting apps. I believe I don't know if they are Polymarket or if they own Polymarket, whatever the deal is, but Polymarket has opened up a pop-up store that's supposed to be for one day, and it's allowing people to get $50 worth of groceries, right? So you could come in, you can get a bag, you can take $50 worth of groceries, and you can leave. This is up in New York City, and I thought this was interesting, right? Because as Zoran Mamdani was going through his election, he was talking about government-run grocery stores, right? Kalshi is a private company, or maybe it's a public company. I'm not sure if it's on the stock market. But for the sake of this argument, it's a private company, and they're implementing a pop-up shop for a day of free groceries. And there was a lot of people that said, oh, well, if Mamdani does this with the New York City government, this is communism and blah, 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 just denigrating him a bunch, right? But what the idea actually was like limited limiting the prices essentially with a couple government-owned grocery stores. So here you see all of these people around the block, literally, and you can even see people up here that are waiting in line to get $50 worth of groceries. So let me go ahead and play this video so maybe they give some details about what it is that they're doing. But I thought that this was interesting, so I wanted to bring it to you.
The moment the doors opened today, it was like Christmas all over again. This event promoted online with the tagline, F it, free groceries for everyone by Kalshi.
The time I got here was 7 a.m.
I'm like trying to figure out like what I'm gonna like meal prep for the week. And the line kind of almost extends to around the corner.
I got here early.
I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it.
I think that this is very cool. These eggs, Shire,
Steak, pork chops, eggs, ground beef, pepper.
It's amazing, isn't it?
But look at the sandwiches inside.
I'm longing to stray.
Shout out to Kelsey and West
Right
Side Market.
through the very heart of it. New York, New York.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that's absolutely beautiful. So shout out to them. Whether you agree, like I don't agree with all of these betting apps and market prediction apps and all of that stuff. But you know, when a broken clock is right twice a day, you just let it be right. You don't fight against it. So shout out to them for what it is that they did in this instance. And what shocked me the most about all of this was not Mom Donnie trying to implement some sort of limited price grocery stores. It wasn't Kalshi doing a pop shop, even though this was surprising. It was how many people showed up to get $50 worth of groceries, right? $50 is not a life-changing amount of money. It's not a whole lot of money for groceries. Like if you go grocery shopping, you could get, remember eggs were $7 at the beginning of the Trump administration? I got a half carton of eggs for about $2.80 something today. So they were a lot higher price at the beginning of the Trump administration. They've come down, but $50 is not a lot of money. And then I'm reminded that 12% of our population, 42 million people, receive SNAP benefits. SNAP benefits on average are $187 a month, right? Some people are going to get way more. Some people are going to get less. Some people are going to get right at 187, but that's the average, right? So $50 out of 187 is almost about 30%, right? It's a little higher. $50 is a little bit lower than 33%. So probably about 30%. And that's how, for people to be lined up around the block to get groceries for $50, up to $50, when $50 normally wouldn't last you that much, it tells you about the dire state that people are in. And I had somebody comment on the channel. They said, hey, where do you stand? Like, are you a Democrat or a Republican? And I said, I stand on the side of whoever wants to ensure food, clothing, shelter, and water for all Americans, right? I have some ideas that people would be labeled as conservative, have some ideas that people would be labeled as liberal. But the point is that we live in the richest country on the face of the earth. Never mind the $38 trillion of debt, right? If you just wipe that away and you don't pay attention to that. We live in the richest country on the face of the earth. And people are lined up to get $50 worth of groceries. And they will literally stand out there for hours in order to get into that store. That is crazy. So shout out to Kalshi for doing it. But the fact that it needs to be done, you know, there's a lesson to be learned there. So when Mom Donnie comes in and he says, hey, I'm going to have government-owned grocery stores. I'm going to put one in every borough so that people can have access to low-cost and nutritious food. The billionaires that fought against that are people that don't give a fuck about you at all. They don't care if you live or die, right? They might have been hanging out on the Epstein Island. And those are the people that fought so hard against Mom Donnie doing this, only to see the implementation of this where people are going to the free, well-run, quote-unquote, grocery store, and they're lined up around the block to get $50 worth of food. I thought it was beautiful. I don't like Kalshi, but, you know, like I said, when somebody does something right, you don't denigrate them. You just agree with them. And you say thank you. So Shout out to them for that. Let me see. I want to get into one more thing. All right, so surprise, surprise, the ICE agents lied about a shooting that they did. Let's check this out. This is some reporting from CNN.
Tonight,
Let's
a
see
pair
what
of
they
ICE
got.
agents are under investigation after being accused of lying about a shooting that happened of a man in Minneapolis. Last month, you might remember this story. The agents claimed that two men had attacked them with a broom and a shovel as they were carrying out an immigration operation. One of the men was shot in the leg by an officer. And when that happened, obviously it raised questions. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem came out and said it was, quote, an attempted murder of federal law enforcement.
These people exaggerate so much. Everything is like a domestic terrorist assault and everybody's a domestic terrorist. That's all they say. These all they came out with a broom. Come on, yo. He was going to kill you with a broom? Really? That's the story and you're going to stick to it?
She accused the governor, Tim Walz in Minnesota, the mayor, Jacob Fry, of encouraging assaults against law enforcement. And also, the same day that she put out that statement, she was at the White House and said this about ICE agents in Minneapolis.
Every single action that our ICE officers take is according to the law and following protocols that we have used for years, that this administration has used, that the previous administration used. They are doing everything correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like when J.D. Vance came out and he said anything that the officers do, they have blanket immunity, right? So she probably heard that talking point directly from the vice president, because we know when something happens, they start their group chat, they start their signal chat, which is probably how they communicate, which we learned from Pete Hegseth when he added that journalist in there, right? They start their signal chat and they start spinning up what the narrative is going to be. They get Caroline Levitt on the phone. They say, hey, how do you spin this? How do you make this sound pretty? J.D. Vance tweets it out. Cash Patel tweets it out. Trump tweets it out. He Truth Socials. Caroline Levitt tweets it out. What's her name? Kristi Dawn tweets it out. And then they get up on camera and say the same talking point. So for her to say, oh, well, you know, anything that they do while on the job is covered under their duties, it just lets you know that they're repeating the same talking point and they all have the same idea that nothing that these agents do on our behalf, we're going to charge them for.
Well, given that, we've now learned the Justice Department has actually dropped charges against those two men. And in a turn of events, they are now being investigated because they are being accused of lying under oath about what happened. There's video evidence, apparently, that contradicts what they said actually occurred. And this is just the latest case where the initial description that we get from the Trump administration after a shooting like this has happened has fallen apart once all the facts have come out.
I just have a question of who they're being investigated by, because if the Department of Justice dropped the charges against those guys, are you telling me that, surprise, surprise, I would be shocked, right? Completely taken aback if the Justice Department started the investigations on the officers that lied, right? But, you know, stranger things have happened. People have said they saw the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot, so.
Obviously, the highest profile examples of this, I don't have to remind you of, you remember it yourself. Renee Good, Alex Preddy, both accused of being domestic terrorists before we saw all the different video angles of what happened when they were killed at the hands of federal agents. There's also the case of Miramar Martinez in Chicago. Just this week, CNN obtained the body camera footage from October when the American citizen and school teacher was shot 5 times by a Border Patrol agent.
Yo, if you don't know anything about firearms, that's like an M4 or M16 that he's pointing at her. That's an assault rifle, right? That he's pointing at her, an American citizen. That they ended, I don't know if he's necessarily the officer that ended up shooting her, but she was shot 5 times and had 7 wounds. And they said, oh, well, she, like Caitlin Collins just said, they called her a domestic terrorist only for them to drop those charges and then have to admit in court that they actually were the aggressors and assaulted her, right? I can't remember her name, but Caitlin Collins just said it. So this is the type of narrative that they're trying to spin. Everybody's a domestic terrorist. Everybody needs to be tread on. Everybody needs to be under the boot of these federal agents. Not knowing or not even giving credence to the idea that we're all humans. Some of us wear uniforms, some of us don't. Some of us have badges, some of us don't. But we are all capable of the truth and the incredible fabrication of details, which these ICE agents reportedly did. We're all capable of it. The problem is it's one-sided from the government. They can do whatever the hell they want to do. They're going to have the full weight and back end of the Trump administration. They're going to get all of the glitz and glamour. And what is the American citizen going to get? Thrown in fucking jail, arrested, denigrated, called a domestic terrorist by the leaders that are paid from our tax dollars.
We've been struck.
Now, the Department of Homeland Security had initially said that Border Patrol law enforcement officers were ambushed by domestic terrorists that rammed federal agents with their vehicles. The FBI director posted, "Attack our law enforcement and this FBI will find you and bring you to justice."
What about when we are attacked by our law enforcement for no reason at all, shot 5 times, 7 exit wounds? What is going to happen then? What's going to happen to those people that perpetrate that, those agents that perpetrate that against American citizens? That's the question that needs to be answered.
Once the evidence came out, federal prosecutors asked for that case to be dropped.
And as they were wrestling on the ground trying to detain this individual, 2 other men came out of that building and started attacking him with weapons and shovels and brooms. And as it was 3-on-1, the agent feared for his life and defensively had to take action.
Well, today, a judge dismissed charges against the 2, and 2 immigration officers are now under investigation. CNN's Priscilla Alvarez joins us with more. So what's the administration saying here?
Well, Anderson, it was the Justice Department that had filed a motion to dismiss these charges, which, as you said, have now been dismissed by this judge. But it is a significant development in what was a string of high-profile shootings where there were conflicting accounts from the federal agents as well as from the eyewitnesses. And in this case, as you mentioned, this occurred last month. It was after the shooting of Renee Good, where officials claim these 2 Venezuelan men had assaulted the federal agents, which is what led him to shoot one of them in the leg. You heard there from Secretary Noem that they had assaulted him with a shovel and with a broom. But both of these men had denied that. And in reviewing the video and in speaking with eyewitnesses, they found that there was nothing to support the agent's account of what transpired here, which is what now has led to this federal investigation into whether these officers had lied under oath. I want to read you a significant statement from the acting Immigration and Customs Enforcement Director, Todd Lyons. This is what he said today. He said, quote, "Today, a joint review by ICE and the Department of Justice of video evidence has revealed that sworn testimony provided by 2 separate officers appears to have made untruthful statements. Both officers have been immediately placed on administrative leave pending the completion of a thorough internal investigation. Lying under oath is a serious federal offense. The U.S. Attorney's Office is actively investigating these false statements." He goes on to say that the officers may face termination of employment as well as potential criminal prosecution. Now, of course,
I'm going to be completely honest with you. For me, this is a shock. This is absolutely a shock because I thought lying was just an everyday part of the Trump administration and their goons. I thought that was just, business as usual. That's how I've been seeing business conducted over the entire tenure of Trump 2.0 up to this point. So I'm surprised people are being held accountable that are acting under the arm of Trump. So, we'll see how it goes. They're talking a good game. Oh, we're going to investigate them, or we might put them on administrative leave, or they might have criminal prosecution. These things need to actually happen if they are true that these agents lied. Don't do the fan service of, oh, we're going to drop the case on the gentleman that they shot and then we're going to sweep it under the rug. No can do. If they have violated the law, if they violated the veil of trust between the U.S. citizens and federal law enforcement, go ahead, arrest them, send them up to Leavenworth or wherever they need to go.
Anderson, we have covered at length the moments in which there have been conflicting accounts over the shooting of Renee Good as well as Alex Preddy, but certainly in some of these other instances. And this statement was notable because we were hearing from their boss, the acting director of ICE, who said that this review is ongoing now and these officers may face termination as they determine whether they lied under oath over an incident that resulted in a shot fired at a man's leg.
How important?
I think more than anything, if they do face consequences, it's because people are seeing that ICE and the Trump administration, they're getting bad press and they want to be able to put a W in one of their columns, right? So if they have to throw somebody under the bus, I don't think that Trump and his administration, especially the people high up, are above throwing somebody under the bus to make them look good.
Is it to be able to trust what you are hearing about an official account from the Department of Homeland Security?
It's very important. It's important for our people to be able to trust their government. And obviously that, integrity and that trust has been completely thrown out the window under the Trump administration, from HHS to DHS, almost every single agency you can think of. The heads of those agencies aren't concerned with how we bring back integrity to our government and how we can ensure our people trust our government, but they just want to do the bidding of Donald Trump. And they also want to ensure that they're providing cover for everything they do, that they make zero mistakes, that everything that they do is perfect. And that's exactly what we've seen with Kristi Noem, that within.
Yeah, let me go ahead and pause that for a second, because while he is right, there is an erosion of trust under the Trump administration. It's not just Trump. It's the government in general, right? It's the same people that, unfortunately, I have to bring it back up, that protected Epstein. It's the same people that told us that Biden was, as Jank on TYT says, young and dynamic. It's the same people, right? So it's not just Trump. It's not just Republicans. It's also Democrats. It's an entire apparatus of people that fabricate the truth in order to lie to us and manipulate us and tell us things are not what they really are.
Minutes or seconds of these instances happening, she takes the social media to call these people domestic terrorists, when in every single instance that we've seen so far, there's been video unearthed that shows that in many cases the officers have lied. And I think it's obviously a huge disservice to our nation. But when the people can't trust their government, that is a sign of a backslide in democracy. And it's part of the reason why people like Kristi Noem should not be in these positions anymore.
In the case of the men where they said they were attacked with an ambush with a broom and a shovel, the Justice Department has dropped the charges. DHS says they're investigating these officers for lying under oath about this. They're facing potential criminal charges. If the administration said, well, look, this is how we corrected it, this is how we fixed it, what would you say to that?
I'd say it's not enough, because we can't trust the administration to do this. We just can't trust them to investigate themselves, because they've shown us time and time and again over the last over a year that they're not interested in justice, and they're interested in covering their own asses every single point, from the Epstein investigation to ICE and DHS and what's going on. And it's part of the reason why one of our demands, we have to have external investigations of all these instances, because they're microcosm, they're examples of how really the entire department is completely flawed right now under the leadership of Kristi Noem.
No, I'm going to say that I disagree. We can only have that stance if the charges are dropped against the men that they assaulted and there are no charges brought up against the agents. If the charges are dropped, but the agents receive charges, if the agents are arrested or indicted or held responsible, then we can say, okay, that is a W for the Trump administration. Could it be politically motivated to put a W in their column? Absolutely. But if they do the thing that they should do, and they do it correctly, right? And they stand on the principle of, hey, these guys lied. They said they made an official statement under oath, and they need to be held accountable for it. If they do that, which I don't have too much faith that they will, but if they do, then we can say it's a W in their column. They're not going to shoot up 100 points, like 50 points for Gryffindor or something like that. Absolutely not. But can we give them one gold star? Probably. I could probably spare one gold star if they do the right thing.
Who do you want to carry out those external investigations?
I think that this is not a normal time, and usually it is not for the United States Congress to go through every single thing. But I think, especially in instances of some of these more high-profile ones, I do think the United States Congress needs to open up investigations into some of these, because, again, they are examples and microcosms that really expand out to what we're seeing across the entire country right now. And so I do think the Oversight Committee would be a committee to do that.
Obviously, ICE funding and the Department of Homeland Security funding overall has become a huge sticking point on Capitol Hill. They have $75 billion for the next 4 years because of a bill of legislation that's already passed. I think given that, some people might ask, how do you explain a vote that doesn't actually block that ICE funding, because they already have it? It would block money to pay TSA agents, FEMA workers, Coast Guard members. I mean, obviously people that would be indirectly or directly affected, not intentionally so, but they would be directly affected by this. How would you justify your vote to those people?
Well, number one, in the House of Representatives, the Republicans don't need my vote to pass a bill that they want to pass. If they want my vote, they're going to have to go with the demands that we put forth to help change what's going on with DHS and ICE. If we want to talk about consequences, Alex Preddy, Renee Nicole Good, people who are being shot and killed across this country, and our neighbors who are being terrorized in our communities as we speak. Those are the consequences about the recklessness of DHS and ICE right now. And House Democrats are using our power and the power of the purse to say enough is enough. The people have spoken. We see poll after poll that people say this administration have gone way too far as it relates to this. I don't call it mass deportation. It's a mass kidnapping campaign of our own neighbors. And so we're representing our constituents by saying, no, We know that through the big, beautiful bill that they passed to give ICE essentially unlimited amounts of resources and give huge tax breaks to billionaires at the cost of healthcare for working people. We know they did that last year. But what we're saying is we're not going to give them a penny more to do what we've seen over the last year.
Yeah, I that's the end of the video for that one. But I agree with that 100%. You can't have more money to do more shit that I don't like. It just doesn't work that way. I've used this example in the past, but if I ask somebody to come over and mow my grass, I pay them to do that. And then they go back and mow somebody else's grass and my joint still looks like shit. I'm not going to continue to give you more money for a poor service. At the end of the day, these departments are federally funded. They come out of our taxes and they are our employees, right? It may be second and third hand, passing the money down by the time it gets to the agent. But at the end of the day, this is our money. This is our system. And you can't have more money and more power and act in perpetuity, do the things that you are doing in perpetuity without some sort of accountability, right? That's my stance on it. It seems to be this gentleman's stance that's in the House. And I hope that, we can stand on business and not just let them do whatever the hell they want to do. Let's move on. I want to see this thing with Hassan. He said that he's not voting for Gavin Newsom in 2028. He would rather vote independent. Let's see what it is that he has to say, how he came to that conclusion, because maybe he, people are not happy about it. The clip has 7.2 million views over on Twitter, and people feel a way about it. But let's see what he has to say. Maybe he makes some good points. We'll find out. All right, here we go.
For him, disappointed in
Who
Gavin
do you vote
Newsom.
for, J.D. Vance or Gavin Newsom?
Well, I'd have to vote for Gavin Newsom,
Me
of course,
too.
100%.
I wouldn't blink.
There's no
What
doubt.
about you, Hassan?
I'd probably vote third party.
That is one of the. So we're going to let him get back into it, but that is one of the things that I hate. Hey, do you want this thing that you all? Do you want this thing or this thing? And both of them are things that you don't really want, right? The classic thing of rocking the hard place, right? And it seems that we always have to choose between two things that are both shitty options. I'm not super informed on what Gavin Newsom's policies are, what his ideas are, but I see him in the media. I see him on Twitter. I see him trying to do the Trump thing and try to go viral all the time, talking like Trump. And, it's pissing Republicans off. They don't see the hypocrisy of it all, but we see it, right? We understand what's going on, what Gavin Newsom is doing. But is the way that you're talking and trying to mimic Trump, is it going to have any positive effects on the everyday American, right? My concern is food, clothing, shelter, and water for every American citizen in the richest country on the face of the earth. That is my concern. I know some people are going to say, well, that's communist. I'm not talking about just giving people stuff, but we should have a system where people are able to afford getting a home. We know that the average home buyer now has shot up to 40 years old, right? That's what I'm talking about. Are you going to make policies that better the lives of people? That's my primary concern for anybody. And are you going to erode our rights? I don't know that for Gavin Newsom. I absolutely do not trust. I wouldn't trust, what's his name? I wouldn't trust J.D. Vance to look after anything that I have alive. I wouldn't even trust him with my dog, right? He might Christy know my dog or something. I wouldn't trust him at all. I don't know about Gavin Newsom's record, but Hassan is saying I wouldn't vote for that guy at all. I'd rather just vote third party. And people, like I said, are up in arms about it. But maybe he has an explanation. Let's check this out.
Would?
Oh, yeah. I mean, at that point, it doesn't even matter. Because my policy on this is the same as my refusal to endorse Kamala Harris. The reason why I did not endorse Kamala Harris was because she did things that were not only unproductive, but also unconscionable. And I still stand on that. I still talk about it all the time because people constantly bring it up. They're like, you didn't sufficiently promote Kamala Harris. You're the reason why she lost. And I'm like, I am incapable. There is no singular force in this country that is capable of making or breaking an election. And if that was real, then it is the most idiotic thing not to listen to my demands. But everybody knows that that's not real, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't understand why people feel compelled to tell other people who they should vote for. At the end of the day, it's that candidate's job to become somebody that people want to vote for, right? I barely want to get up out of my bed and go to the polls. I will, right? But it is incumbent on the person that wants to be elected to inspire people to get up and go to the polls to get them elected, right? It's not just, oh, well, do you want this bad thing or that bad thing? So you better come vote for me. No, it's more than that. It's deeper than rap. It really is.
If I had this singular force to be able to make Kamala Harris the president, then Kamala Harris should be coming to me every day and being like, let me do a collab with you, please.
Totally.
Right? That's not the case, of course, and they know it. That's why they didn't do it. But the campaigns are always responsible for whether or not they are able to win the crowds, win the population over, and combat against the couch. Not necessarily even against the Republican Party, but usually you're fighting against the couch, people who just don't go out and vote. And for me, the way I see it is if the Democratic establishment makes this decision one more time, just as they did with Hillary Clinton, just as they did with Kamala Harris, and in some ways, just as they did with Joe Biden as well, which led to Trump too, then they just don't care. And there's not much I can do.
Let me tell you.
Yeah, so I saw something come across my timeline earlier on Twitter where it said that there was a potential ticket with Kamala Harris and AOC. And I said, why would you try this a third time, right? Kamala Harris, she ran in 2020 against Joe Biden, didn't win, and became the VP. Then she had 107 days, as she infamously said in her book, and ended up losing, right? She was kind of not given too much runway to win. But if we're being completely honest, people also weren't inspired to vote for her because they don't know anything that she did while she was vice president. She doesn't have a lot to really run on. And she said, whatever I do, like, I don't have any policy differences from Biden. Whatever you've been getting under Biden, you're going to get more of that under me. That's what she said, essentially, right? When she was asked if she would change anything, she's like, no, I can't think of a single thing. Whatever he's been doing, I just do that. And that, if you're elected president, you have to be able to stand on your own values, own morals. She's gone out, she's done the tour, she's written this book. She probably has given like a lot of thought to the things that she would change. But I'm saying that she would have an insurmountable hole to dig herself out of based on Biden years and people saying that they didn't like Biden's presidency, based on her campaigning for her 107 days and then losing, right? Based on her running in 2020 and, her not beating Biden and then having to be elevated to the VP. I'm saying that, like, maybe AOC is going to have a better chance than Kamala Harris would, but I feel like the people have spoken. And sometimes you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. And I feel like Kamala Harris, she had her time. I really do. I don't mean to say that. I know people are going to say, oh, well, that's a black woman. You're supposed to support her. She's a black woman. Listen, if you don't want to be objective about reality, then you're going to have a long, hard life. And I think that Kamala Harris's ship has sailed. But this is not necessarily about her. This is about Gavin Newsom. So let's get back into it.
Something. Yeah. I agree with everything you say. But as a person who lived in a red state for 50 years, I would crawl through 10 feet of concrete to vote for Gavin Newsom, even though I think he's duplicitous, a hypocrite, a thirst trap, hungry for power, all of the things that you say, and harms the Democratic Party and sets the psychological soil to be more prey to fascism. All of that I agree with. But there are so many young, queer, black, brown, marginalized people in red states. And even though this corporate Democrat is, you see it in a long-term game. In the short-term game, a President Newsom over a President J.D. Vance.
For him.
See, this is another thing I have a problem with. You have people telling you in 2026 that if 2028 comes and Gavin Newsom is on the ticket, Kamala Harris is on the ticket, these are not people that I'm inspired for. These are not people I want to vote for. And they continually are trying to push these people on you, right? They're saying, oh, well, this is the only option you have. And I'm telling you repeatedly, no, they have this old analogy. If somebody doesn't want to drink coffee, you don't give them coffee. I keep telling you, I don't want this coffee. And you're telling me, oh, this is all, not only is this the only thing I have for you to drink, you're going to drink it. And I just don't think that that's an effective strategy. They tried that with Joe Biden. Then they tried it with Kamala Harris. They said, hey, you know, the only person that you guys can vote for in 2024 is going to be Biden. He went up on that stage. He looked like a fucking lunatic arguing against Trump in that debate. Then they said, okay, well, let's hurry up and get Kamala Harris. You know, he stomped the mud hole in her ass. And then they're telling us again, you got Kamala Harris or you got Gavin Newsom. And people are saying, no, you know, I'm going to pass on that coffee. I'm good. And they're telling you, it's time to try a new trick. Don't bring that same tired pony up to this show because it's not going to win. That is what people are telling you. And it'd be best if you listen. All right, so let's see what else we got. Let's check this out. Let's find out what this is.
The thing that I'm so curious about is like,
okay, so this is Flagrant. You know, the guys on Flagrant, they glazed Donald Trump in 2024 up to the campaign. And then once he won, they said, oh, look at the power that we have. We're able to get presidents elected. Obviously, some of it's sarcasm. You got a bunch of comedians up here. I forgot this dude's name. He's Mark Gagnon. He's a comedian. I've seen him live at Schultz's show. He's pretty good. Schultz is funny. I've seen him live. So these guys, you know, they are comedians. Some of the stuff that they're saying is just to be funny. And some of it is they're dead serious. And I do think for a time after the election in 2024, they felt like, you know, they felt like Thanos. Like they could snap and put their thumb on the scale and they helped Trump get elected in some sense. And I do think that that's true, right? People say, oh, they gave him a softball interview. They didn't give him a softball interview. They gave him an interview that is equivalent with the talent that they have for doing political interviews, right? I'm not saying that I'm going to do exponentially better, right? What I'm saying is they did what I would expect of them for the level of talent that they have in terms of being a political figure. But since 2025, since Trump has been in Trump 2.0, they've been kind of backtracking, right? They've looked at the immigration stuff and they're like, I don't really know about that. They're looking at tariffs. They're like, I don't really know about that. So here they go to the Epstein files. Here they talk about the Epstein files. Let's check this out.
how early it goes. Because like his whole come up is still so vague. Like we think we kind of understand it, but like he, you know, goes to school in New York, graduates, whatever.
I don't think he graduates. I think he doesn't even
Graduates high school.
Yeah, high
goes
school.
to college, drops out of college.
Yeah.
And then is immediately hired at like the most prestigious
this private school,
the Dalton School.
Dalton.
And the headmaster at the time is William Barr or Donald Barr,
which is William Barr's dad.
Yeah.
And William.
Okay, so real quick, I know that I don't know how much of Epstein's life story they're going to tell, but the long and short of it is the dude keeps failing up, right? Whatever he does, they keep saying, oh, well, he's not exceptional at this job at the school. Oh, he's not exceptional at this law firm. Oh, he's not exceptional on Wall Street. And he just keeps failing up. And the theory is that he was a money launderer, right? Part of the crowd says he blackmailed people. Part of this crowd said he was a money launderer. I don't know how much of that they're going to get into, but it's a very interesting story, right? Like how this guy was able to amass so much power. And he seemed not to be exceptional at any of the actual jobs that he did that are on his official resume.
Barr, before he was the headmaster, started what will be the CIA.
Right.
I think it was called something else back in the day. We can look at that. Do you know what it was called?
Prior to? No.
Anyway, it was under a different name at the time.
OSS?
Office of Strategic Services.
You're right, OSS. Damn, my boy. Okay, forehead.
Come on, forehead.
I'm proud you got to hit that shit right here.
I got to use all my fucking.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like the fact that early on he's getting connected with these elite circles. And from that school is allegedly when he starts meeting really prominent parents of kids that are going there and then is connecting with these parents and then moving up the ranks, getting to Bear Stearns, et cetera.
So he gets a Bears.
But I'm like, he gets this first thing. And I think people overlook that. How difficult is that job to get?
To get a job as a teacher at a private school?
The most prestigious private school without having a college degree?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So is he already being groomed at that point? Is he already being set up to do this?
You don't think that's crazy?
Is he getting set up by the time he's 19, 20 years old to run this life as a spy?
Like to be a teacher at a public school, you need a master's.
not back in the day. We're talking about like
Oh,
I think they would
70s?
let any idiot teach back in the day. I actually think it was actually quite common where like
Look this up because I think you're
look
talking
at this
shit
guy.
right now.
Also, the weirdest thing about this photo, his name is spelled wrong. I always thought that was so weird.
What it's I before E?
No, it's T-I-N-E. His name is T-E-I-N.
That's what I see. Right.
That's what it says.
No, E-P-S-T-I-N-E.
Oh, you're talking about on the board. Oh
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, I don't think that they can. I don't think that Schultz can read. I don't know what's going on with him. I thought this was going to be different. We can continue to go through this and see what they're talking about. I hope they're not just going through his entire timeline because, like I said, there are going to be some other more in-depth things where you can learn about him and how he came up and, came to prominence. But it's essentially, like I said, he just fills up. Let me see if I can skip ahead and find out what they're talking about.
Right. And that division could have been used if you were going to launder money to, what's it called? Transfer weapons around the world. Like if the United States government is doing it, they're not doing it through their own bank. So you're going to have to find a bank with influence where you can't transfer these funds or do other stuff. I forget what the division, BRCC or something like that. Can you look that up? Like what division was he at Bear Stearns?
I think you just said one of the names of
He swiftly moved up from an options trader working in the special products division and then advised the bank's wealthiest clients. That's all I have there.
What was it? Oh yeah, Black Rifle Coffee. That's my bad. I think it was that. I know. Yeah, he was working with Black Rifle back in the day. America's Coffee. America's Coffee.
Badass.
Yeah.
Special products division.
Special products division at Bear Stearns. Quickly advancing to be wealthy clients on tax mitigation strategies before becoming a limited partner.
And then he gets fired, right?
Following a violation. But I'm like, look, we can all speculate how he gets his money. Is it Les Wexner? Is it, Robert Maxwell's secret fortune? Da 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 da. Or is he being set up from the time that he's 19 years old to be inserted into these institutions?
So why him?
That's what I don't understand.
What does he show at 19 years of age that they're going to let him be one of the most powerful and influential people on the planet?
That's what I don't get. It could have just been coincidence, and that, of course, the person is going to get connected.
Yeah, I've already seen enough of Epstein's come up story, right? We talked about Epstein towards the beginning of the show. I don't want to beat a dead horse with him. I wasn't sure where this conversation was going to go, but it's Friday. It's the day before Valentine's Day. I got to get up and make some French toast and omelet, some beef bacon, and cut up some strawberries. So this is where I'm going to call it a night. And if you care, my knee hurts like shit. So I'm tired of sitting in this chair. As we always say, don't add to the population. Don't take away from the population. This is Say It Louder, a place for discourse. You could have been anywhere in the world and you're here with me. And that's good for my ego. I appreciate that. Happy Valentine's Day. Be safe. And we will see you next time. Peace.